Envision living in a world where your bliss isn't tied to the fondness you get from others, where yearning looks, missed calls, and considering of you messages do not characterize your passionate state. This isn't a story from old history, but a reality you'll be able to live in nowadays. Stoicism, an old logic that has withstood the test of time, educates us precisely that. It engages us to discover internal peace and bliss, notwithstanding of our outside circumstances. But how does this relate to needing someone to miss you? Within the domain of cherish and connections, we frequently discover ourselves longing for the consideration and fondness of others, accepting that this outside approval is the key to our bliss. However, Stoicism presents an outlandish approach. By centering on self-improvement, cultivating passionate freedom, and increasing in value the display minute without connection, we incidentally ended up more alluring and incidentally more likely to be missed. In today's video, we dig profound into the stolid way of living and cherishing. By grasping the standards of Stoicism, ready to improve our lives and change our connections within the most unforeseen ways. Remain with me as we investigate how to form them miss you, not by playing diversions or strategizing your each move, but by getting to be a guide of self-sufficiency and satisfaction. As continuously, your bolster implies the world to us. A basic, however impactful way you'll offer assistance is by hitting that subscribe button. It's a little motion that goes a long way. Please remain with us all through the complete video, as each portion has been carefully created to direct you towards a more satisfying and impassive way of living. In our journey for bliss and fulfillment, it's unimaginably simple to drop into the trap of looking for outside approval. We frequently degree our worth by the responses, conclusions, and consideration we get from others, particularly within the domain of individual connections. But what in the event that I told you there's a more engaging and persevering way to joy? The Impassive Way instructs us to center on what's within our control, our contemplations, activities, and reaction, while tolerating what we cannot control, which incorporates the sentiments and behaviors of others. This doesn't cruel getting to be detached or emotionless. Or maybe it's almost recognizing that genuine satisfaction and self-worth come from inside, not from somebody else's endorsement or consideration. Think almost it. When we pivot our bliss on being missed or craved by somebody, we allow absent our control. We gotten to be responsive to their activities or need thereof, which can lead to a roller coaster of feeling. Stoicism, be that as it may, offers us the apparatuses to step off this ride. By developing ethics such as intelligence, strength, equity, and control, we construct a solid, strong character that finds bliss and self-growth in individual accomplishments. This doesn't cruel we ought to separate ourselves or halt caring around others. Stoicism doesn't advocate for passionate separation, but for enthusiastic strength. It energizes us to make solid, important connections based on common regard and understanding, not on destitution or reliance. Besides, by prioritizing self-improvement, we normally ended up more charming and alluring to others. Individuals are drawn to people who are certain, energetic, approximately their interests, and substance with themselves. So incidentally, the less we center on making somebody miss us, the more likely it is to happen, since we're living our best, most bona fide lives. So let's begin moving our center from looking for approval to sustaining our internal world. Let's contribute time in learning unused abilities, investigating modern side interests, and extending our understanding of who we are and what we stand for. This travel of self-improvement isn't, as it were, satisfying in itself, but moreover makes us more splendid and, yes, missable within the eyes of others. Keep in mind, the objective of Stoicism isn't to stifle our wants or deny our require for associations, but to remind us that our joy and worth are not subordinate on them. By tying down ourselves within the standards of Stoicism, ready to enjoy a life of peace, fulfillment, and genuine freedom. At the heart of Stoicism is the understanding that our responses to outside occasions are inside our control. Indeed, on the off chance that the occasions themselves are not. This rule is inconceivably enabling. It implies that we hold the key to our enthusiastic state, giving us a level of autonomy that's freeing. Passionate versatility, agreeing to Stoicism, isn't around desensitizing ourselves to sentiments or segregating from the world around us. Instead, it's almost recognizing our feelings, understanding them, and choosing not to let them direct our activities. The Stoics accepted in centering on what we will control and letting go of what we can't. This isn't fair a technique for individual peace. It's a guide to emotional resilience. When we halt permitting outside variables, just like the activities of others or societal weights, to impact our well-being, we develop a sense of freedom that's both significant and common sense. This freedom doesn't cruel separation, On the opposite, it empowers us to lock in with the world from a place of quality and self-assurance. Consider the concept of passionate versatility within the setting of connections. Stoicism educates us that, whereas able to cherish and care for others, our joy shouldn't pivot on their nearness or endorsement. This viewpoint energizes us to construct connections on the establishment of shared regard and honest-to-goodness association instead of reliance or fear of forlornness. By cultivating passionate flexibility, we gotten to be competent of getting a charge out of profound, significant connections without losing ourselves in them. Besides, Stoicism's accentuation on living according to nature and tolerating life's recede and stream fortifies our enthusiastic strength. It reminds us that alter is the, as it were, consistent, which our capacity to adjust to this alter could be a degree of our quality. This versatility doesn't come from a put of lack of involvement, but from dynamic engagement with our values, objectives, and the interest of ethicalness. So how do we develop this autonomy and passionate flexibility? It starts with self-awareness, routinely reflecting on our contemplations, feelings, and reactions to life's challenges. It includes practicing appreciation, centering on the display minute, and locks in exercises that adjust with our center values. Significantly, it requires us to challenge our discernment, inquiring ourselves whether our passionate reactions are based on current substances or obsolete beliefs. In grasping Stoicism, we learn to explore life's storms not by looking for protection in others, but by getting to be our possessed beacon. This travel towards autonomy and passionate versatility isn't a singular one. It's improved by the wisdom of those who strolled this way sometime recently us. As we join Impassive Standards into our lives, we discover that our capacity for bliss, our quality in difficulty, and our capacity to preserve adjusted connections all develop exponentially. The stolid rationalists like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus regularly talked approximately the significance of living a life adjusted with one's possessed nature and the nature of the universe. This at its center is around recognizing what genuinely things in life and committing ourselves to it. For the Stoics, meaning is found not in outside triumphs or the amassing of riches and awards, but within the development of ethicalness, shrewdness, and judgment. It's almost contributing to the common great, locks in within the community, and creating connections based on regard and understanding. Making an important life, at that point, includes a profound plunge into our inward selves, inquiring difficult questions, almost who we are and what we stand for. It requires us to distinguish our values and to live by them. Indeed, when confronted with challenges, or when it would be simpler to essentially go with the stream of societal desires. Stoicism offers a compass in this contemplation, encouraging us to consider not fair our activities, but the eagerly behind them. Are we acting out of ethicalness, or are we persuaded by a want for outside approval? Additionally, Stoicism instructs us almost the impermanence of outside conditions and the significance of centering on what remains inside our control. This point of view is freeing. It liberates us from the oppression of attempting to control the wild and coordinates our energies toward where we will really make a contrast, our possessed states of mind, choices, and reactions to the world around us. In this way, making a significant life is less almost what we accomplish and more almost how we live and the mentality with which we approach our days. Grasping an impassive approach to life, too, means accepting that enduring and misfortunes are characteristic parts of the human encounter. Rather than seeing them as impediments to our bliss, ready to see them as openings for development, versatility, and a more profound understanding of the complexities of life. This doesn't cruel we look for out enduring, but maybe that we discover meaning in overcoming it, learning from it, and moving forward with a fortified soul and a more compassionate heart. The stolid realists like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus frequently talked roughly the centrality of living a life balanced with one's have nature and the nature of the universe. This at its center is around recognizing what really things in life and committing ourselves to it. For the Stoics, meaning is found not in exterior triumphs or the hoarding of wealth and grants, but inside the advancement of ethicalness, quickness, and judgment. It's nearly contributing to the common awesome, locks in inside the community, and making associations based on respect and understanding. Making an imperative life, at that point, incorporates a significant dive into our internal selves, asking troublesome questions nearly who we are and what we stand for. It requires us to recognize our values and to live by them, without a doubt when gone up against with challenges, or when it would be less difficult to basically go with the stream of societal wants. Stoicism offers a compass in this thought, empowering us to consider not reasonable our exercises, but the energetically behind them. Are we acting out of ethicalness, or are we influenced by a need for exterior endorsement? Furthermore, Stoicism instrument us nearly the impermanence of exterior conditions and the noteworthiness of centering on what remains interior, our control. This point of view is liberating. It frees us from the abuse of endeavoring to control the wild and arranges our energies toward where we are going. Truly make a differentiate. Our have states of intellect, choices, and responses to the world around us. In this way, making a critical life is less nearly what we finish and more nearly how we live and the mindset with which we approach our days. Getting a handle on a detached approach to life as well implies tolerating that persevering in mishaps are characteristic parts of the human experience. Instead of seeing them as obstacles to our rapture, prepared to see them as openings for improvement, flexibility, and a more significant understanding of the complexities of life. This doesn't brutal we search for, out persevering, but, or perhaps that we find meaning in overcoming it, learning from it, and moving forward with an invigorated soul and a more compassionate heart. Intelligence makes a difference us perceive what is inside our control and what isn't, permitting us to channel our endeavors viably. Mettle enables us to confront challenges and instabilities with the enduring heart. Equity guarantees that our activities are reasonable and established in a sense of communal concordance, and balance guides us in adjusting our wants and activities, avoiding us from being influenced by abundances. By coordination these excellencies into our lives, we create a significant sense of peace and versatility. We gotten to be less receptive to outside occasions and more tied down in our center values and standard. This doesn't cruel life gets to be void of challenges or torment, but that our capacity to explore them is significantly upgraded. Besides, giving up the want for control cultivates more beneficial connections. When we halt attempting to control others, we open ourselves up to more veritable, conscious, and compassionate intelligence. We start to appreciate individuals for who they are instead of who we need them to be. This acknowledgement clears the way for more profound, more important associations based on common regard and understanding. In common sense terms, this impassive approach can be actualized in our day-by-day lives through careful owns such as contemplation, reflection, and journaling. These hones offer assistance us to frequently check in with ourselves, reassess our considerations and activities, and realign with our stolid values. They serve as updates of the quietness that comes from centering on our claim activities and reactions instead of the wild impulses of the outside world. As we proceed on our stolid travel, let us grasp the intelligence of the Stoics, developing a life of inward peace, versatility, and veritable association. By focusing on what we are able to control and letting go of the rest, we open the genuine substance of a satisfying, important presence.